What's going on? Welcome to another edition of the RPO College Football Podcast. I'm Jerome Jones, your humble host, and I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend. You already know who he is, Mr. Ray Roberts. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, Jerome. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. I'm glad to be back. We took a little hiatus last week. We've been going through podcast after podcast by podcast. I wasn't feeling well, so we did take a little hiatus from last week. So that's why we're still on draft day number 2. But I am glad to be back. Feeling better this week. How you feeling, Ray?
I'm good, Jerome.
That's good. Awesome, man.
I'm good.
We got a long off season, so we got plenty to talk about still. We're still going to talk about we're going to do draft day number 2 today. We're going to do draft day number 3 next week. And then we're going to go into some individual college football stuff, get back to the college football. But let's talk about the draft because we didn't get to talk about it. I know it's been a couple of weeks now that, everybody got to see the drafts. But if anybody want to, listen up and hear what we thought after hearing all the analysis from everybody else, this would be a great spot to definitely do that. So make sure you come in and check us out. Leave that like button down there. Put your comments in. We are watching live. So if you are watching live right now, and you want to comment on anything we talk about, or you want to comment on something that you want us to discuss, definitely put it in the comment section below. And for anybody that is watching later on, definitely put your comments in. We do leave comments back to everybody that comments on all our channels if you look at all our other videos as well. So let's get right into it. Day 2 recap. Overall, Ray, what's some of the things that kind of surprised you overall?
I don't know if anything surprised me. I was happy to see that Will Levis did not get taken in the first round. I didn't think he should get taken in the first round. Mm-hmm. I was a little surprised that Joey Porter fell out of the first round.
Yeah, definitely.
I was surprised that Michael Mayer. Well, I was and I wasn't surprised. Michael Mayer was like the first tight end taken. I was a little surprised that he wasn't the second one either. That surprised me.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah. Looking at the rest of the drafts, at least rounds 2 and 3, I don't see anything that really surprised me that much. Mm-hmm. Nothing really. I mean, there's a difference in – we always have differences of opinion on what we think about certain players, but, I mean, nothing that happened in the second and third round really surprised me that much.
Definitely. One of the things that surprised me, Ray, was the amount of trades in the first couple of picks of the second round. I mean, when I seen it, I was just like, okay, you got Chicago. Well, I'm sorry, it wasn't Chicago. It was Pittsburgh stayed there. They got their guy, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. Then it was Will Levis getting picked next because of Tennessee trading up. Then Detroit trading up. Then the LV Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders. I'm still kind of getting the name right now.
The Raiders, man, it's easier.
The Raiders. But the Raiders trading up to get their players. So that was what surprised me because I wasn't expecting so many trade ups in the second round as much as they were. And the way it was coming in, because it wasn't like it was like they're really on the clock. It was just like 3 of them was on three. There was 3 trades right before the started for day 2. So people was like trading in and out early in that aspect. And then seeing some of the teams I did pick, and I think it was kind of expected though. I mean, one of the picks was kind of unexpected out of those trades, but let's just jump right into it. So number 1, Pittsburgh Steelers getting Joey Porter Jr. I don't think that was a huge surprise that he could possibly go to the team that his father played on, and we thought that was going to be a first round pick. He wound up being the first pick in the second round. What do you think about that one, Ray?
I think it's a really good pick for the Steelers. I think he's a guy who father played for the Steelers. Mm-hmm. Honestly, Jerome, as soon as he was there, I'm like, Steelers are going to jump on this guy right away.
That's what I mean.
Right away. I mean, he kind of fits what The one thing about Porter is he doesn't track the ball extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want a guy who came in and play man coverage for you, can come up in zone and press,
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's perfect for that, and that's what Brian Flores wants his corners to do.
Yeah.
So I thought it was, even though they moved on from Brian Flores now, but I think they're going to use a lot of the same systems where they want the corners to press and come up and be physical. I think for that, Joey Porter is a perfect fit, obviously.
No, I agree. And then the next pick was the Titans moving up with taking Arizona's pick to get Will Levis. I knew that he's gonna. Okay. I'm not gonna say I knew that he was gonna slide because I didn't. Felt like if he wasn't gonna be top 10, then he would have been bottom half of the first. At least he get that 5th-yard option. That didn't happen, so that kind of surprised me. But then once I heard that the Tennessee Titans wasn't too hot on Malik Willis, I was like, well, that's a possibility there. So when they trade up, I was like, all right, that got to be Will Levis. So that didn't surprise me too much. What do you think about that one?
No, I agree. I think that once you saw them moving up into the second round again, that they were probably going to do that to take him.
Yeah.
I mean, Will Levis falls to a perfect spot. He doesn't have to play right away. He can sit behind Ryan Tannehill, and honestly, he's a very similar player to Ryan Tannehill.
Mm.
He reminds me of Tannehill a lot, actually.
He does. A bigger Tannehill, but definitely
a little bit. But he's athletic. He can move a little bit. He's got I think he's probably has a little stronger arm than Tannehill too.
Yeah.
Even though I think Ryan Tannehill arm is a little bit underrated. But the same problems with him. Well, let's say you saw with Tannehill, they don't read defenses very fast.
Yeah.
So again, it's a good spot for him.
Yeah, he got a good running back, and they usually try to stack up running backs there and stuff like that to kind of spell their quarterbacks so they don't have to do too much. So, and it always kind of been like that with Tennessee anyway. Like they like to run the ball. So, I like it. We'll see how it goes after this year because I think Tannehill's not going to be there next year.
No, I think they're going to get out of that contract after this season.
Definitely. All right, so the next 2 picks was two other trades, 2 tight ends, but it wasn't in the order that I thought it was going to happen. I know this one player was getting some buzz before the draft happened, but I would never see him going over Michael Mayer. So obviously, Sam Laporta went to the Lions before Michael Mayer, and then Michael Mayer went right after to the Raiders. Obviously, the Raiders need a tight end, trading Darren Waller. The Lions needed a tight end, trading their pick from last year as well, Hawkinson. So, what do you think about these picks in general, right?
I like both players. I would have taken Mayer before Laporta. That's fine, but I think they're both going to be pretty good players. I do.
Yeah, it's something about Iowa's tight end, man. They produce some solid tight ends lately. It's just very ironic that they traded one Iowa tight end for another one. So I think that's pretty funny. But honestly, Ray, when they traded Hawkinson, it didn't make sense to me. I just like, dude, Hawkinson's one of your best players.
And you trade him in your division, which really surprised me. And then you take a guy who's exactly the like. I like Sam Laporta, but their coach is a former tight end. We all know Dan. It was as he was. Campbell. Dan Campbell was a former tight end, but you would think that he would want the guy who's a better blocker, and he went for the receiver instead of the blocker. That's
that was no, definitely. Maybe that was like a GM thing where the GM kind of. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I agree with you, though. I agree with you. That was kind of weird. All right, so you're not gonna go through every pick, but we'll go through a couple of that, like that we maybe want to mention. So from number 5 to 10, Ray. Anybody kind of stand up from there?
I like Derek Hall from Auburn. I think he's a little bit of a guy, a little bit of a project, but I think he's a good player.
I thought Foskey was going to go before him.
I did too. I like Foskey. I think Foskey's a little underrated as a player. I think Ojulari is not a bad player. He's a little underrated as a pass rusher. I think they're all a little bit different, but I think they all are pretty good players.
Yeah, and I feel like all
The
three
Lions,
went in around a great spot too. Like that that grouping was like exactly what I thought would probably go down, and in that same area. So
I love the Lions getting Brian Branch because we thought maybe end of the first round for him, and he winds up going towards the middle of the second round, which is
yeah, I wasn't happy about that one, man. I'm like, bro, y'all just got CJ Johnson again. Like literally, I feel like, and I was saying this before, the draft, right? I was like, man, they're two similar guys. Now they got him listed as a corner. We'll see if he's gonna play more corner or nickel corner, which is basically a safety.
yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how they use him. Maybe that is the reason why they put him at corner instead of safety. So he's gonna be more than a nickel guy. But it just feel like they got abundance at that position right now.
Yeah, I thought he was a good player. I think they, like you said, I think he'll probably wind up playing some slot for them. So that's why.
But if you're gonna have a guy replace CJ Garner or Johnson, he'd be the perfect guy because you have
Would be.
they teach or play under him. I don't know if he's gonna teach him, but play under him. It's very similar, skill set. So, yeah. But go ahead, Ray.
I like I love like it's funny. Miami took Cam Smith in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
My first reaction was, "Wow, they took another corner."
Yeah.
And then my second reaction was, "Wow, but he's really good in that spot."
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, yeah. Again, I was a little taken back by the position. Yeah. And then I thought, wow, that kid could very easily have been taken at the end of the first round.
Yeah. And so we talked about him a lot. Right.
Yes, we did.
During our mock drafts and things like that. And when you guys were on the board and y'all got him, I'll text you right away. I was like, another corner. And then the next thing I said was, well, really damn good corners. So,
yeah, again, and you're dealing with like Miami has good corners, but they're both 29, going on 30. Mm-hmm. This guy comes in, he could probably take one of their places down the road. And you know what? You may even see them play him outside right now and then move what's his name inside to play safety.
Jalen.
Imagine that, man.
Yep.
I mean, as it's funny, as excited about Miami's offense I was last year, I'm almost as excited to see what their defense can do this year.
Yeah.
With a new defensive coordinator, with a little bit of a different theory about how defense should be played. Hopefully with better play at linebacker and more reliable play. Our corners, Byron Jones got hurt last year. Xavier Howard played injured most of the year. So our secondary was pretty bad. As bad as it was last year, I think it's going to be really good this year. So
definitely. A couple guys I want to point out. Justin Brent's going to the Colts before Brian Branch. I thought that was. I think he's a very athletic freak. He reminds me of Tariq Cohen. I mean, not Tariq Cohen. Tariq Woolen from last year. So he has a lot of the same kind of abilities. See him at the Senior Bowl as well. Very, very long, lengthy, fast guy. Cody Munch going to Tampa Bay. I felt like that was like such a Tampa pick. That was such a Tampa pick. I feel like they get that kind of offensive alignment all the time. Jarvis Martin going to the Commanders, going corner back to back. Wasn't sure about that. I mean, solid guy. I wasn't too high on him. I think that was a little bit of a reach, honestly, right? And especially after you already got a corner, you're going back to back corner, and again, a guy that wasn't highly scouted, and you got him over Cam Smith.
Yeah, that's what would surprise me.
Yeah,
unless they plan on moving him inside and letting him play safety.
Definitely. Seahawks getting Zach Charbonnet, a little rich for me.
Great.
Especially since they got a really good rookie last year in the second round. They double up with Zach Charbonnet. He could do a lot of the similar things as Kenneth Walker. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was and again, I love their draft and I love the pick. I just thought it was odd that they got him so high. You get what I'm saying? Like I know they love the running back. I know they like to rotate those guys, but that was interesting. I think you could have.
I wasn't crazy about the Keon White pick by the Patriots. Not that I don't like the player.
I love
I
White. I
just
love
think
him.
he's a little bit more of a third round pick.
Yeah,
But I mean, if you is in the, I'm sure the Pacers
that
are
was
going to
very Patriots
feel.
like. So
Yeah, it was. I was going to say they're going to get him on the field. It'll probably play well for them. I mean, the only other ones in the round, I like Irvin Dexter from the
yeah.
defensive lineman from Florida. I like him more than a lot of people. I think. I just thought he's athletic, he's lean. I think he's going to do a good job for them. And I love I like the Osiris Torrance pick for the Bills. I
Oh
think
yeah, that was
as
good.
like a guy that can come in and play right away at guard for them, I think he's going to help out their running game a little bit. And I don't like Bills getting good players, but I think they got a really good one there.
It's just funny watching you struggle to say all these words right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm
Well,
not,
I'm about to do the same exact thing, right? Because Luke Schoonmaker, underrated tight end for me. Obviously, I'm a Michigan guy, so I get to watch him a lot. I really like him a lot. Remind me of Dalton Schultz, actually, which is funny. I said that a while ago. Um, he seems like a Dallas Cowboys type of guy. Now, I'm kind of annoyed that they keep getting our Michigan guys, and it seems like they overdrafting them, which means they like that tells me they like drafting Michigan guys, which is kind of disgusting. But they I feel like they drafted both one round too early, honestly.
I agree with you. I think
Yeah,
that's the thing. And they actually drafted, I like both players they drafted. I just think they drafted them both like around too early.
correct.
But
Yeah,
again, man, in the end, do they go in the field? Do they get production out of them? If they
definitely.
do, 2 years from now, no one's going to care where they were drafted.
Yeah.
You know,
All right, let's get to the last pick of the second round because Marvin Mims Jr. I really like him. I thought he was underrated, but I thought it was kind of weird for them to pick him here, and they got such an abundance at wide receiver. Now, there was rumors swirling around that the Broncos was going to be trading one of their wide receivers. Um, we'll see how that go, but to get a wide receiver that early in the draft when you have almost like 4 or 5 of those guys is kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. So none of them got traded at this point, but you got this at wide receiver right now, and I think you could have used that resource for. You could have actually traded out and got Mims still. I think in the third round.
I agree that you could have gotten a little bit later than that, but and there is a lot of talk about them trading at least one of their wide receivers now. So, but I mean, I like the player, so I'm not going to kill it. It is
No,
almost
no,
a
no.
pick, So
I just think the fit is kind of weird when they have so many receivers there already. You know.
it is a weird pick, but again, I gave him a B for it though, so because I like the player. I just thought, like you said, I thought there was other positions you could have used better than a wide receiver, without a doubt. So
100%. We got some time. We can still stay in the second round a little bit. I was gonna move on, but we going a little bit faster than I thought. What's your thoughts on the Packers? I mean, second round I had a couple second round picks. The first round pick was second round pick was Luke Musgrave, and then they went around got another pass catcher and Jaden Reed. What do you feel about those two guys in those spots?
I like Musgrave. He's as a solid player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he should have been taken in the second round either,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest with you. But I like Jaden Reed a lot from Michigan State. I think he'll come in and play for them. At
Yeah.
least help out on the special teams right away.
He's definitely a slot guy. I mean,
He
if I'm
is.
not mistaken, he's very small, right?
He is. He is a slot guy. But again, he can come in and help you on returns.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to play the slot right away. I mean, I think you need to give the quarterback some playmakers to get some ball out of their hands really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I just worry about Green Bay, man, because they weren't great last year, and they had
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers, so we'll see what happens.
definitely. I mean, I got higher hopes than most people do with Jordan Love. I don't think anybody really gave Jordan Love much of a chance. Seeing what he did to the Eagles last year, he did pretty well in his little time on the field when he was there, and drove him down the field, got him a touchdown, made it really close. So I feel a little bit more and I'm not just saying that's because we interviewed him, but I feel a little bit better with him than most people do. So,
Well, I like Jordan Love. I just
and I love Christian Walken. So,
right. My feeling is, are the Packers fans going to give him a chance to actually play before they're like crying they want Aaron Rodgers back?
Correct.
So I mean, like you went from Favre to Rodgers. This may be a little bit more of a steeper fall than they're used to at this point.
No, I agree with that. I just think that Green Bay is typically a more patient type of fan base than
they are. You're right about that.
So I think they give him a chance. I think once they get a little warmed up to him, they're gonna fall in love with him. Now, if you're expecting him to take over the reins from Favre to Aaron Rodgers, I don't think that's gonna happen. But I think he's definitely worth being one of the top 32.
Without a doubt, he's a talented kid. Like you said, the fan base is usually pretty good as far as giving them. Remember, the Packers are not a great roster right now.
Yeah,
people were like it was a little bit easier because the Packers had a decent roster still when Favre left.
That's right.
They don't anymore. It's not very good, and it's going to sound crazy. I said to a guy, like, people are always killing me because they say that I'm too cheap. Because I always say I wouldn't pay this guy, I wouldn't pay that guy. And I was talking to him like a couple of days ago, like, I would not have re-signed Aaron Rodgers 3 years ago. And people were like, well, what do you mean? He's a great – yeah, because, like, what did he do but sulk half the time? You'd have traded him 3 years ago, you probably could have got 2 first-round picks for him.
That's true.
And you paid him $150 million the last 3 years, and what did you get for it?
And no.
So like, this mean like
the playoffs.
These GMs need to be able to play hardball every once in a while, dude. And they're all just caving.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm a weird guy because I don't like overpaying players. I just don't. And I know people think that I'm stupid, and I'm not. I'm not being realistic. And you got to pay the guys, and yeah, but I don't need to pay a guy that doesn't really want to be part of my team.
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody's just a mercenary, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm anxious to see what Aaron Rodgers does in New York. I am. But I'd have been more anxious to see what he could have done 3 years ago, or at another team 3 years ago that was more ready to win.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's 39 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't like you traded him now after getting nothing back for him for the last 3 years, and now you paid him all that money, and what did you gain from it?
Yeah.
Because you signed him, you couldn't re-sign Devontae Adams.
Yep.
So you lost guys to keep him, and then he leaves, and he don't care about Aaron Rodgers. Cares about Aaron Rodgers. Period. Okay.
Not here. Yeah, I agree with that. But to get off Packers just a little bit.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. The Bengals grabbing DJ Turner, pairing him up with another Michigan guy, Daxton Hill from last year. What do you think about that pick, Ray?
I like DJ Turner. I think he's a good player. I think that the Bengals absolutely need cornerback play. So I think that was a very good pick. I really thought that maybe if I were them, I would have moved up and tried to get ahead of Miami to get Cam Smith.
Listen, Ray. Listen. DJ Turner is such an upgrade over Eli Apple.
Well, Jerome, 3 years ago, you were an upgrade over Eli Apple.
Oh, my goodness. Dude, no, yeah.
I like Turner. Mm-hmm. I do think that he's a good player. He's going to be good for them.
So we talk about this a lot, Ray. He's one of those type of Michigan guys where I feel like he didn't live up to his potential. He's one of those guys. So I think he's one of those guys in the NFL. He'll be a lot better. He got a lot of speed, good at coverage. I know there was sometimes not last year as much, but before last year, excuse me, there wasn't a really good safety play outside of Dax Hill. Now it's a little bit better this year. Sorry, last year when Michigan was in on defense, but Dax Hill was literally the only other safety he had really, and no offense to my guy from Jersey, blanking on his name, but Brad Hawkins, that's his name.
Hawkins.
Brad Hawkins wasn't that good of a safety back there. No offense, go Jersey. So for him, he was kind of struggling the year before. Last year, he played a little bit better. His stock did rise up, especially after the combine. I think he's going to be a good player. All right, let me get to our first comment. Chris, you want to talk about Ohio State corners? Because Okudah, Jeff Okudah. Now let me stop because I do like Jeff Okudah, and I did get to meet him last summer. I think he played a lot better last year. He just wasn't he wasn't healthy, so I can't talk too much about Okudah. But listen, Chris, get out of here, man. Get out of here. He had to come in here just to ruin my day. I love you, Chris. Thanks for coming on, though. All right, let's get to a third round, Ray. So third round, again, another round where there was a lot of trades. The Philadelphia Eagles actually came into the first round. The third round twice, actually. Got two back-to-back picks. Actually, one of them was one of theirs already. I forgot which one, though. Don't remember which one, but the Eagles had two back-to-back picks. So let's talk about the first few picks. Zach Pickens, a defensive tackle that, we got the interview at the Senior Bowl this year. Actually, I think it was Chris who did that interview. So shout out to Chris out there. Real quick. Okudah and Terrell is going to turn up an NTL. No, I think that's going to be – I agree with that, actually. I really do. I think and it's funny. They actually train together. They have a trainer. His name is OD. So shout out to OD, one of our guys, really cool guy. He's a trainer. He trained Jalen Ramsey a couple times too, and he trains AJ Terrell, Jeff Okudah. That's actually how I got to meet both of those guys last year. So shout out to OD. But anyway, Zach Pickens going to the Bears at the first pick in the third round. What do you think about Zach, right?
I like Zach Pickens. I think he's a good, solid player. I think they kind of took him where he should have been taken, third round. Yeah. 100%. So it's a good, solid pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're looking pretty solid at the D tackle position now with Zach Pickens and what's his name, Daxon Grions or whatever we call him, the guy from Florida. I forgot his name exactly, but yeah, they got him in second round. They got Pickens in the third round, so they're beefing up their D tackles. And that's kind of what the Bears do. They like to beef up their front four, like kind of like the Eagles, especially on the defense. So you want to say something, right?
No, that's a good, solid pick. I mean, I like it. Nothing exciting about it, but it's a good pick.
Definitely.
I think the Bears need to do some work on their defense, but
definitely. Eagles with the back-to-back picks, taking Tyler Steen and Sidney Brown. What do you think about those picks, right?
I thought Steen was a little bit of a reach, but I think they're going to get their hands on him and see what they can do with him. I love the Sidney Brown pick.
I love that pick too, Ray. Yeah. I love that pick. And, like, I'm not saying he's the same guy or will even be close to the same guy, but he and I'm not the only person that said this, and I think maybe that's where I'm getting this influence, but he gives Dawkins vibes. Not in the sense of he's going to be as good as Dawkins, but in the sense of being a leader, He's a smaller school guy. Well, Dawkins went to Clemson, but it was kind of small school back then. Um, and then physically opposing guy, really good. I think that's going to be fun. Watching him go out there, compete at safety, he has a real good chance of starting winning the starting safety position. And outside of Alabama's guy Brian Branch, I think he was the next best safety out there anyway. So
I agree.
I love the pick.
I think it's a very good pick. I think you're going to get some guy who's going to come in and compete. And even if he doesn't win a job, he's going to make the guys that are there work harder to keep their job. So that's always a good thing.
Definitely. Chris says, are you ready for Alabama versus Georgia scrimmage in July? There's a Alabama Georgia scrimmage in July. If there is, I am definitely looking forward to that. I would love to go to that. I got to look into that. I didn't know about that, Chris. I don't know how you heard about that before me, Chris. I'm down here and I didn't even know about that. Maybe I'm not paying attention. He also says, as long as Brown turns out better than Kayvon Wallace, we're in good shape. I 100% agree with that. I think Kayvon Wallace is playing a little bit better than, or developing a little bit better than a lot of people are giving him credit for. I just think he was drafted high and people kind of like, we expected more out of you. When I think I expected a little bit more out of him too. So this is on me as well as another fan. But I think I still think he's a very solid guy. Okay, Chris, you got me, Chris. It's an Eagles joke. I get it. The offense and the offense on Eagles versus, I get it. Defense, Georgia, I get it. Good job, Chris. You got me. All right, let's move on. All right, the next few picks. Drew Sanders going to the Broncos. Hayden Hooker's going to the Lions. Tank Dell going to the Texans. Brian Young going to the Raiders. Condre Miller going to the Saints. Next few picks, Ray. What do you think about some of those guys?
I love Drew Sanders going to the Broncos. I like
I like
the Hendon Hooker pick for the Lions because you took him in the third round. If you'd have waited to the fourth round, it probably wouldn't have been there. And you do get a guy where you can just stash him on your bench for 2 years and see what happens with him.
Yeah, the only issue, and it's not a huge issue because if you stash him on a bench for 2 years, he's still going to be like 27-ish. So he's a little longer in the tooth. But 27 for a starting quarterback in the NFL is still fairly
if you get him on the field, though, and he does something, he shows some promise, he still gives you a nice chip to bargain. You could trade him or you could trade Goff for a third or a fourth round pick. Yeah. Teams are always looking for quarterbacks, man.
100%.
And Minnesota would die to have another quarterback right now.
You gotta put them out there like that. That's funny. No, I agree with you though. Hayden Hooker, playing behind a guy that he can learn from and stuff like that. I think that'd be good.
Plus, I mean, he's playing behind a guy like Goff, who we all understand he's not a great athlete. Mm-hmm. So he does rely on his brain and his arm to do his. This is a perfect guy for him. This guy's athletic.
Yeah.
He can sit behind this guy and learn the mental part of the game from him, right, and then maybe take everything to another level for the next 2 years. I mean, I think it's a good pick. I mean, I think it's funny. I like the Lions end of the second round, third round picks better than I like their first picks.
100%. And again, it's not the guys that they picked. It's
where they took them. I mean, in the value of the position that they took. That's
correct. No, I agree.
I like everybody they drafted. I thought they had as far as guys that would come in and help them play right now, I think they did a solid job. I still don't think you take a running back and a linebacker in the top 20. I just don't. So, that part of it's never going to change for me.
Yeah, and I think that, being that Hooker can still heal up a little bit too, because you got to remember going into the draft, a lot of people was thinking he might go in the first round, and I think he fell to the third round because of injury and age.
And that's the other thing. Like this guy probably needs to rehab for a full year before he's even ready to play football.
Correct.
So again, it puts him in a spot where he don't have to worry about this year at all. He can just sit there and watch Jared Goff play the position.
Exactly.
And maybe he goes out there and beats him up for the year after that. Who knows?
Exactly. So I think that was a good move. Chris says, I'm buying all the Texans stock right now. I agree, because I was actually about to get into their pick, which is Tank Dell at wide receiver, a Houston guy, which, they should know a lot about him being in that same area. But Tank Dell, I thought he could have been in the second round. I really like Tank Dell. He's the perfect slot type guy. You can pin him on the outside. His numbers are ridiculous. What was it, Ray? 20-something touchdowns?
Yeah, he had a crazy year last year, man. I mean,
he's
a little small, but he'll come in and play slot for you. He'll help you in the return game. He's an explosive player.
He don't have top end speed like the player I'm gonna say, but as far as route running, he might be up there with Devontae Smith. He got very good route running. Like his route running,
he does, but he don't have any of the size.
No. And again, Devontae Smith is thin, but he's tall. Where Tank Dell is a little bit more thicker, but he's tiny. He's short. So I get what you're saying. He has I'm not gonna say he got the build like him. I was gonna say Brandon Cooks, but Brandon Cooks actually kind of stocky
and fast.
Yeah. So, but no, I love the pick. I think it's a great fit for him. Having him and CJ Stroud, CJ Stroud a good option to throw to. Him, so it's gonna be him. It's gonna be my guy from Michigan, Nico Collins, who I still fully expect him to play very well. He showed some glimpses with not the greatest quarterbacks out there. Another guy that I think was underutilized at Michigan, so we'll see how he does. And then I forgot who the other wide receiver was, but I think they got a little solid group with CJ Stroud. All right, let's talk about a couple of other picks. Jalen Hyatt going to the Giants. What do you think about him, Ray? I'm okay with the value, because I know a lot of people are saying that he's going to be in the second round. So to get him in the third round, super fast guy. He's one of those guys that like next gear fast.
No, he's extremely fast, man.
Yes, he's a next gear fast type of guy. Like
he's
running fast, and then the ball's in the air, he just take that next gear and go fast.
I love the idea of giving Jones another playmaker out there that you just run.
Yes.
I do. And I thought as a third round player, it was a really good spot for him.
Yeah.
So I like the pick. I think that Giants, they're a good. I think that it's hard to get a read for them, because I still think they need more defensive players, though.
And Chris literally says it right as I was about to say it. He's a one-trick pony. I totally agree with that. That trick is what the Giants and the
Jones desperately need.
No, I
agree with that. I still think
they still need a solid number one guy, though.
They do, and they need defense, man, all over the place, to be honest with
you. Yeah. So I'm glad they got themselves another weapon, but they don't have a number one threat still yet. So I still think they're gonna struggle in the passing game a little bit, because they don't have that threat where it's a guy that's gonna be a guy who's gonna be their threat. So we'll see though. Maybe they'll run the ball a little bit.
The one guy I see that was taken after them is Josh Downs. I would have taken going there.
Yeah.
Instead of Hyatt. I maybe would have went there.
I agree.
I may have went defense.
Mm-hmm.
I may have went like Zach Harrison.
Yeah.
I may have thought about that. You know what I mean? So
100%. Let's go down the board a little bit. Tyjae Spears going to the Titans, right? What do you think about that one?
I love the player. It's a completely different player than what they have there now.
Right.
So I think it could be a dynamic 1-2 punch, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you wear down the defense
Uh-huh.
with speed, and then you bring in the hammer, as they say, or you pound on the defense with the hammer, and you bring in the guys when they're all sucking wind, they can't keep up with them. I mean, I think it's a nice complimentary guy to Henry. I do.
Yeah.
But and I love the kid. I just think he's a dynamic player.
I love him too. We got to interview him at the Senior Bowl again. Chris got to interview him at the Senior Bowl. I like his game. I like him a lot. He's got a nice personality to him too. Very energetic kid. My only issue is that, and if the medical situation is true, what they're saying, they said that he, had no cartilage in his knee, which is kind of like how your boy Ray and our guy too, I guess. Jay Ajayi, he was coming out of college. He had no cartilage, started wearing down on his knees, and then after a while, he's out of the league in 4 years, almost something like that.
The other thing I may have thought about doing is either go defense, or maybe you take a chain there. If you really want a real change of pace guy.
Yeah, A-Chain. Where did A-Chain go? He didn't go on the third round, did he?
Miami Dolphins, brother.
Ooh, I love that pick. I love that pick. Oh, yeah. He's coming up. I love
Tyreek Hill, 4.29.
I love that pick.
A-Chain, 4.32.
Speed.
Moster, 4.31.
Speed.
I got the one slow guy. Waddle only runs a 4.37. Dude,
I'm dead.
Will Anderson, who runs a 4.43. So,
oh man, we gotta play you guys this year too.
Man, you better tell your defensive backs to wear their track shoes in that game, man.
God, man.
I think that Miami's trying to see
quick.
Miami's trying to see if they can get them to play the game on the same day as the Penn Relays. This way we can win them too.
We better get to the quarterback quick. We're gonna need that speed on the edges, man, for that one.
Whew, man, you have no idea how much I am just hoping that Tua stays healthy this year.
I'm glad we got Nolan Smith because we ain't gonna need speed on them edges, man. Because you gotta get there quick. All right, let's get to the chat real quick before we continue. Waited to get weapons for Rodgers leave. Green Bay's petty. You can say that, but you can't say that because remember, last year they got Romeo Dobson. Last year they got Christian Watkins. They did almost exactly the same thing they did this year. So can't really say that because they did it in about the same rounds too. I think I know Christian Watkins was high second rounder, and then Romeo Dobson was a third rounder if memory serves me right. So you can't say it in that way. If they would have got a first round wide receiver, then you could say that. But they was trying to get weapons last year, so I can't. I know everybody wants the first round guys, blah 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 blah. When Aaron Rodgers was there, but it wasn't like they didn't get any weapons or they didn't even draft high. You can still get very good.
Maybe he should have taken $40 million a year, and they could have afforded to resign Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
If not. Stop whining, man. Okay.
Yeah. Jordan Love has been that system for years now. I think he will ball. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the North. Ooh. You know what? Thinking about Lions, Bears, and what's the other team?
Lions are my pick to win the North.
Vikings. You said the Lions?
The Lions are going to win the division this year, man.
Lions, Vikings, Bears. Bears are definitely not doing it. Lions, Bears, Green Bay. Lions, Bears, Green Bay. Lions, Bears, Green Bay. I'm gonna say the Lions too. I'm gonna say the Lions.
I think Jordan Love is going to be fine.
I think Green Bay and the Vikings gonna fight for number 2. I do like Adderton for the Vikings though.
I do. I think the Packers are going to rely on the run game a lot, even more this year than they have, because they don't have to worry about Aaron Rodgers crying about not throwing the ball 30 times a game. I agree with that, Chris.
I was waiting for
right there. I love it, man. I can't wait.
Ray's funny.
Aaron, what did you think about this play? Relax. I can't relax. Can't wait.
That's so funny.
Can't wait.
Let's get to our next guy, Riley Moss, a guy that I'm really high on. I got to interview him at the Senior. Well,
great pick.
Really good cornerback, Ray. He's a very solid guy. He's gonna be very good for the Broncos. He's gonna be the second corner across from what's his name? What was his name? Surtain.
Yeah. I mean,
dude,
that's a great pick. I think the Broncos had themselves a pretty nice draft. They did. That is a great pick. There was a guy there that I thought was not going to fall out of the second round for sure. I mean, we talked about. I don't think Ryan's right. Oh yeah. I don't think they'll flop though, Chris. I think that. Well, I think I'll rephrase that. I think either they're going to be pretty good or they're going to be completely bad.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I think that they have a fairly hard schedule because I know what my schedule looks like, and I know my schedule is pretty hard. So I think that I just think the problem is
I know you mean Raleigh, but talking about Raleigh Moss.
Yeah. I just don't think that I think they could wind up losing some close games early, and then we'll see how they react to that and how he reacts to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Jet, well, of course, the problem is this. People in New York are going crazy right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I expected it because you're riding a Hall of Fame quarterback to what was a pretty good roster. And last year they were winning. They were like 7-3 last year, 7-4, mm-hmm. And then the quarterbacks they stopped playing. I mean, they couldn't do anything. I mean, the quarterback they drafted last year in the first round couldn't complete a screen pass.
Yeah.
I mean, like, talk about seeing ghost. Wow.
If Tua stayed upright, the Dolphins are winning the division.
I'm not going to say that, but I love you, Chris. Thank you.
Ooh.
It's a tough game, man. That's going to be a tough division. If Tua stay, here's a question, and I argue with, like, I feel Lamar Jackson, blah blah blah. Who do you think is throwing for more yards in a season, Lamar Jackson or Tua?
Tua.
Yes. Tua threw for 3,500 yards last year, 26 touchdowns, and missed 5 games.
Yeah, he played very well. Man, don't get me wrong.
I just want him to stay healthy, man. I mean, that's the one thing.
He's gonna be a boss.
It's like having an Embiid. You're just like every time they fall on your end, you're like, oh god, man. Like
you had to make a Sixers reference. You just had to.
Have you ever seen two guys that are so like capsulizing as far as injuries?
No.
Every time Embiid falls on the floor, you're afraid he's not going to get back up, right?
No,
well, I feel the same way. I see every time I see Tua get slammed down to the ground, I'm afraid he's not going to get back up.
Definitely.
I mean, I know he's an immensely talented passer. I just worry about his body. That's all.
No, I agree. Let's get to our next draft pick. I gotta point this up because how every single draft, I don't understand how the Ravens always do it. Trent Simpson not even just in the third round, but late in the third round. Trent Simpson.
That was going to mention that earlier, Jerome, when we were talking about what surprised me in draft, and I was looking, I'm like, ooh, Trent Simpson going in the third round is definitely a surprise.
Dude, he is so freaking fast.
But that's why Baltimore has good drafts. They don't panic, man. They just wait for good players to fall.
And that's the thing, Ray. They don't trade up a lot.
They don't.
Wait. It's crazy how they operate.
They don't. They just wait. And they'd be like, you know what? We're going to wait in the first 3-4 rounds and then somebody will fall out of the round that shouldn't be falling out of the round. And what you saw this year was we all thought corners were going to all go in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
All the high-end ones anyway. And what happened is they all got pushed down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why
and you did say that was a possibility because
that's why you got Jair Brown from Penn State going in the 3rd round.
Yep.
That's why you got Riley Moss going in the 3rd round. You thought them guys were going to be like early, maybe late 2nd round, you know?
Yeah. No, I like it. Let's go. Tanks Bigsby going to the Jaguars. We think about that one, right?
Perfect pick for a team that could use a guy who's more of a power back. The guy they have there, they have Etienne, who we know is a very quick, dynamic runner and can catch the ball in the backfield. You added Tank Bigsby to that line, to that backfield. I think it's a good fit for a team that I'm expecting to be. Here's the thing. I think Jacksonville is going to be a good team. I'm not sure if they're going to be a whole lot better this year than they were last year. I think they're going to be better, but I don't know if it's going to be that much. And
I agree.
Trevor Lawrence is a new guy that people want to beat up. Like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm sure Trevor Lawrence is going to be a star. Okay, man.
And you get him a guy like Calvin Ridley. You know, I know he haven't played in a year, but he is fast. He's good. And they was really good with the receivers they had last year, and now you add him to the mix. I think
and what he is a safety guy. Like, okay, nobody's open, boom, he's always open.
Yep.
Man, I just think, again, I don't know. They won 9 games last year. I'm not saying they're going to win 12 games. They may only win 10, 11. But I think they're going in the right direction.
I think they're going to be in the mix. I think they're going to be in the mix for sure.
Yeah.
Daryl Washington from Georgia going to the Steelers, and I know there's a running joke that the Eagles getting Georgia defense and the Steelers are getting Georgia. What do you think about Washington going to?
I love Darnell Washington. I love the value there is ridiculous, but there are some medical red flags regarding him that I didn't know nothing about until after the draft.
Correct. Yeah, and I think that's why he got pushed down a little bit. But I think it'll be a good pairing for him and Fairmouth, who I like a lot. I like Fairmouth a lot.
I think if Darnell Washington is healthy, as a guy who could do a lot of good things in line for you and let Freiermuth be that out wide threat, and maybe you can run them together because both of them. Darnell Washington's a good blocker. Freiermuth's a solid guy who will at least get in the way. I mean, it adds a lot of versatility to what you could do in offense. I think it's a great pick.
Again, I like it too. Now, Freiermuth been, not a lot of people talking about Freiermuth because you got to remember the year before they didn't have a quarterback. Last year, rookie year for,
Kenny Pickett.
And Pickett, him and Freiermuth started warming up a little bit at the end of the year. So I think you have that, chemistry between them kind of heat up a little bit more. And you got Washington out there with the receivers they have as well. I think they're going to be solid, and I think they're going to be better at their offensive line as well than, previous years. They was kind of lacking at offensive line last year. I'm not going to act like it's like so much better. They're going to do so much better at offensive line, but it's better than it was. So, and now you got pass catchers. I think I like the pick.
I love the idea of having Washington as an inline guy to help out your tackles. I think there was some talk about people thinking this guy can move the offensive tackle.
Really?
Yeah. I know some people that
he makes some too many ridiculous catches. To be
I agree with you, Jerome, but I've heard some people say, "Yo, man, if you don't work out at tight end, put on 30 pounds, you can."
Hey, it worked for Jason Peters. So
yeah, well, Jason Peters was actually drafted as a tight end, and then turned into an offensive tackle, and he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. I'm not saying that about this guy, but I've heard people say, if nothing else, he's going to be a great blocking tight end and has solid hands. So I think that him and Freiermuth together with a young quarterback is a lot of when you're a young quarterback, you want things to happen quickly. When you can throw the ball to your tight end and have a good running game, they actually kind of work together. I think that's why you've seen Buffalo concentrate on adding more tight ends in the mix because they need to balance their offense before Josh Allen gets killed. Okay.
100%. No, I agree. All right, let's get to some other picks here. Let's talk about the most surprising third round pick in here. Michigan guy. Love this guy. Michigan legend. Mr. Jake Mooney, kicker. We got a kicker in the third round, guys. How do you feel about that one?
How do I feel about a kicker in the third round?
Oh man, I can't wait to hear this.
Is there a grade lower than an F you can give somebody?
F minus maybe? I don't know. F minus.
I don't.
It was very early. I would never draft a kicker or punter, unless it's like 7th round and you feel like you did well in your draft and you don't need any, maybe, special teamer kind of guys. And when I say special teamers, I don't mean like kickers and punters. I mean like, gunners, those kind of guys, because those guys do play a big part in your.
Here's a question for you, Drum. Who do you think is going to turn out to be a more impactful kicker, Jake Moody or Michael Turk that Miami got undrafted, the punter from Oklahoma?
Why would you ask me that? You put me against a Michigan guy? What? And I think Jake Mooney is gonna be. He got such a leg, and the thing about it is that you don't see that type of leg in college football. This man was booting it from like 50 yards in college football, which is not that common, and he was so efficient with it. So, like, don't get me wrong. I'm not condoning a third round kicker at all. I think that's horrible. But if there was going to be one, Jake Mooney's that guy. I love Jake Mooney. I'm sorry. I'm going to be super biased about it too. I don't care. Yeah. Chris says the answer is Jake Rowland. Where did he go?
I don't know that, to be honest with you.
Jake Rowland. I know we interviewed him. I forgot where he went though. Chat Rowland. Did I say Jake? I'm sorry. Chat Rowland. You say right?
If you take a specialty player like a kicker or a punter before the 6th round, you should be bagging groceries at the end.
Oh, Chad Rowland went to the Patriots. He went in the 4th round. That was another high draft. So there's only 3 kickers that went.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? What do you think kind of grade I gave them?
A+.
Yeah. I mean, like,
thanks,
what are we doing? Yeah, man. We've had this discussion before. If you want to take a guy in the 6th or 7th round because you don't want to have to deal with,
yeah.
I get it. I get it. You like your guy. I do. I get it. Plus, really, if you draft a kicker,
was it Mike Nugent that went 1st round too? No,
don't think so.
No,
the only 1st round field goal kicker was the big heavy guy that was with the Raiders, Sebastian Janikowski. That's it.
Yeah.
Ray Guy was a 1st round picker.
Ray Guy also. Yeah, Ray Guy.
Yes.
He was a Hall of Famer though, but
yeah. Well, Ray Guy may be the greatest punter ever, but again, football was different back then too.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, the AFL teams would draft guys like that because they knew if they didn't draft them.
So Nugent went to the Jets in the 2nd round.
2nd round, yes.
Yeah. Crazy still.
I mean, how good of a kicker was he? Not good. Exactly.
Bounce around the league. So
yeah, bounce around. Yeah, like a yeah, exactly.
Listen, I'll be the first one to say I wanted the Eagles to actually draft a punter this year, but I'm like 6th or 7th round.
Exactly.
Going
because
early.
if you draft a guy like that, he's going to make your team. More than likely, you know the guy well enough that he's going to make your team. Where usually when you draft in the 6th or 7th round, you're looking for projects. I get that.
Right.
So I'd rather have instead of dealing with another team and having to sign a guy, yeah, I'll draft him in the 7th round, take a flyer on him because he can probably play on my team this year. Where if I draft an offensive lineman here, he's a project, or a defensive lineman, or whoever I may draft in the 6th or 7th round. Usually are like guys from smaller schools or guys that were like role players on different teams. I love how honestly I love what Miami did. They basically they wanted to bring a punter in. They actually had 4 guys they liked. One of them was
who was the one they got?
Michael Turk.
Yeah, from Oklahoma. Yeah, good guy, good player.
Yeah.
Good
Remember his father was a punter. He was good too.
That's what I'm.
Matt Turk.
What? Okay.
He was good.
I remember him.
This kid has a leg. Again, he'll probably wind up making the team.
Yeah,
as an undrafted free agent, like he should be.
Hey, I wouldn't mind the Eagles. I know they got a undrafted free agent, and hopefully he wins the job and does well, because that was one of the big issues at the end of the year last year, especially in the playoffs. Man, our punting was bad, and y'all all got to see it during the Super Bowl. It was bad. So
man, well, you can't. Yeah,
but yeah, ending the podcast on punters and kickers. Let's go. But that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank y'all so much for being in here. Chris, as always, appreciate you coming on and put some comments in the comment section. Guys, again, if you want to be here live and know when we are here live, go on right there to that QR code right there where Ray is, right under Ray. Go ahead, if you can point it to me, Ray. There you go. Right there. And hit that QR code, like and subscribe, help us out. It supports us. You can know when we on live. If you can't make it live, understand. I know people coming off of work or whatever is the deal. You can definitely on a replay, picture the comments at the bottom. We will reply to them. We reply to all comments all the time. And next week we'll be going through day 3. It's going to be a lot more rounds, so we're going to try to fly through that as much as possible. But I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. It was fun talking about the draft again, kind of revisiting it, and again, like I said, been away from it for a little bit, so maybe a little refresher, from somebody, get some fresh thoughts and fresh insight of some of these rounds and things like that. And not everybody's talking about these rounds. Now people are talking about first round all the time and things like that. We like to talk about all the rounds and talk about some of the things that surprise us or stuff like that. So if you want to hear what we think about day 3, definitely stay locked in and stay tuned in to Inside the Hatches, RPO podcast, college football podcast. And we will be back with some college football stuff coming up very, very soon. We're going to be talking about some recruits as well. We got some recruiting news coming soon that we're going to talk about. If you are on our YouTube channel, definitely check out some of the recruits on there. I know Chris, we interviewed a quarterback that you guys just recruited to Ohio State. We got Michigan's recruit on there. We got Notre Dame's recruit on there, quarterback recruit. So we got the top quarterback recruits in the country right there on our YouTube channel. Go back, watch those interviews, get to know who your quarterbacks are for the future there. We just came from the Elite 11 this weekend, so it was a great event. Definitely go check out some of the content we got from them on our social media. If you click on that QR code, you can find it on there as well. So that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank y'all so much. Jones, that's Ray Roberts over there. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you have a great weekend, and see y'all on the next one. Peace.